The cold had settled over the fields of Fraustadt, a hard, biting cold, the kind that stiffens fingers and slows the dying. Breath turned to mist, leather creaked, steel froze to the touch, and in the pale winter light, the Swedish army stood ready. Not many, but enough. Across the field stood an army twice their size, fresh, confident, certain of victory. They believed they were about to crush a retreating enemy. They believed this battle was already won. They were wrong. Weeks earlier, far to the east, Charles XII had locked a Russian army inside Grodno, not with walls, but with time. Supply lines cut, food running out, men starving. The Russian army was being destroyed without a fight. But to save it, a plan was set in motion. From the west, a combined Saxon and Russian force marched under Johann Matthias von der Schulenburg, over 20,000 men. Their objective was clear: destroy the isolated Swedish corps under Carl Gustav Rehnskiöld, then march east and crush the king, a hammer and an anvil. Sweden caught in between. Schulenburg believed it would be simple. He had numbers, artillery, position, and an enemy he thought was retreating. A beaten force, a fleeing army. In his letters, in his confidence, there was no doubt. This would be a victory, quick, decisive, inevitable. Rehnskiöld saw something else, an opportunity. He pulled back, deliberately. Campfires left burning. Rumors spread through locals, whispers of panic, of withdrawal, of fear. Schulenburg took the bait, exactly as planned. He advanced, leaving strong ground behind him, stretching his army, losing control. Step by step, he walked into position. Dawn, Fraustadt. The Swedish line forms, infantry in the center, cavalry on the wings, men drawn from across the Swedish Empire, Swedes, Finns, Germans, Baltic soldiers, different lands, one army, Caroleans, forged into something singular, disciplined, aggressive, relentless. Then the drums started to play. The Saxon artillery opened fire, thunder across the frozen ground. Iron tore through the Swedish ranks. Men fell, lines bent, gaps opened, and closed again. No panic, no hesitation. The line kept moving, forward, always forward. Closer, closer. Still no return fire. 50 meters. 40. 30. Then. Fire. A single devastating volley, delivered at point-blank range. Not to weaken, but to break. Before the smoke cleared, they charged. Pikes lowered, swords drawn, straight through the powder haze, straight into the enemy. This was the Carolean way. No drawn-out firefight, no exchange. Just impact, speed, shock, violence. Regiments like Nerka Varmland's regiment pushed forward under brutal fire. Officers cut down, men collapsing in the snow. Still they advanced, still they broke through. And then, the line began to crack. On the right flank, the Swedish cavalry struck exactly as they had been trained, knee to knee. A compact wall of men and horses moving as one. They didn't collide with the enemy, they drove through them. But on the opposite flank, the frozen ground betrayed them. Horses slipped on the ice, lost footing, fell into chaos. The Saxons laughed. Wir wollen die Mäusen lebendig fangen. We will catch the mice alive. Moments later, the laughter stopped. The Swedes came again, faster, harder, closer, and this time, they shattered the line. The Saxon cavalry broke first, then the infantry, then everything. The battlefield shifted, from formation to collapse. Pressure from the front, movement on the flanks, Swedish units pushing deeper. The line bent inward, then broke completely. Encirclement, not perfect, not planned in detail, but real, and closing. The Russian units were the first to disintegrate. Some turned their coats inside out, trying to pass as Saxons, trying to disappear, trying to live. It didn't matter. To both sides, they had always been expendable, and now they were trapped. What followed was no longer a battle. It was pursuit. It was panic. It was killing. Across the frozen fields, Swedish cavalry hunted down fleeing men. No formations, no mercy, just motion, just steel. Thousands fell, cut down in the open. Others threw down their weapons, hands raised, begging for quarter. Some were spared. Many were not. By the end, an army of over 20,000 had ceased to exist as a fighting force. Around 8,000 lay dead on the field. Another 8,000 threw down their weapons and were taken. An entire army wiped out in less than 2 hours. The Swedish losses, around 400 dead, not a battle of equals, not even close. What had been planned as a decisive victory for Augustus II the Strong had turned into a disaster, a complete collapse. Across Europe, the reaction was immediate. Disbelief, fear, respect. The Carolean army was no longer just an army. It had become a reputation, a warning, a force that advanced and did not stop. At Fraustadt, they had faced twice their number and destroyed them. And far to the east, the war was still waiting.